happening, guys? Welcome to it. This is Audio Universe Mode back to back with the review for this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. 2-for-1 episode for you guys. Hope you'll enjoy it. We'll touch on Raw in the back end of this episode. So let's just start everything off with Audio Universe. This is episode 16. We are on NXT. It's week 5. On the road to our next pay-per-view, Payback. And tonight, it's a live show because the World Television Championship is on the line in the main event. The Miz defending the title against any superstar from the NXT roster, anyone who's brave enough, who is hungry enough to want to challenge the champion for the World Television title. They'll get that chance to step up and face The Miz in the main event. So let's kick off the show with the second in a series of matches to determine the 3 women who will take part in the triple threat match to crown the number 1 contender to the WWE Women's Championship. That triple threat match will happen on Monday Night Raw, the last Raw before our next pay-per-view, Payback. That's when that triple threat match will happen. On the previous episode, which was our Monday Night Raw, kicking off this week, Natalya became the first to qualify for that triple threat match. Tonight, we've got the former Funkadactyl, Cameron, taking on Blue Pants, whom I would say is the most over female wrestler on NXT in the real world right now. I would say, without a doubt, the crowd, they love Blue Pants, and I hope that they'll make the most out of her now that she's with the Vaudevillains, new tag team champions, NXT tag team champions. I hope they'll make the most out of Blue Pants, and we'll get to see more of her going forward, and her less as a jobber and more of an actual superstar whom they can push forward. So tonight, the superhero woman, the discount diva, as Corey Graves called her on NXT this week. She's in action. She wants to be part of that triple threat match. She might not get this chance again for a while, so she's in this match. Everything she's got, despite the stiff challenge being presented to her from Cameron, being a former Funkadactyl. She's been in title situations before, so you could say she's hungrier than Blue Pants in this match. She's not going to let Blue Pants get that victory easily. She's going to give her everything she's got, making it hard for this young woman to get that victory off of Cameron. Cameron, of course, getting the advantage, looking to hit her finisher on Blue Pants, that girl by snap DDT. But Blue Pants still has some fire in her. She counters that finisher, finds the opening to hit Cameron with her finisher, the critical confirmation, and getting the pin over the former Funkadactyl. Blue Pants becomes the second to qualify for that triple threat match on Monday Night Raw. The final match, of course, will happen on SmackDown to close week 5, and we kick off week 6 with that Monday Night Raw episode. Then we move on to the return, once again, of Y2J, Chris Jericho. He made his return to TV last week, coming in during that main event. It was a tag team match. We saw the reunion of Miz and Morrison for one night only, taking on the number 1 contender, Kevin Owens, and one half of G2, Corey Graves. Jericho showed up, not as intentional distraction or interference. He just showed up just to let folks know that he's back. And unfortunately for Kevin Owens, he got distracted by the arrival of Jericho, and that cost his team that big match. And tonight, Jericho, he's got some words for the crowd, for the people in the back. He's not only returned in action, but he's looking to get a rematch against champion John Morrison for that NXT title As you may remember, at NXT TakeOver Supremacy, Jericho was unsuccessful in his campaign to become NXT champion because the new number one contender, Kevin Owens, would show up during that main event as intentional interference, costing Jericho that championship match. And Jericho now, despite what happened at TakeOver Supremacy, he still wants a rematch against John Morrison without any interference from anyone. And this is what prompts the number one contender, Kevin Owens, to show up looking to shut up Chris Jericho. And Owens already, he's quick to remind Jericho that he had his shot at the NXT Championship. He might as well move on now because Owens is the new number one contender. It's his time now. And unless Jericho has a problem with that, Kevin Owens will make the most of his opportunity and do what Jericho failed, and that is to become NXT champion. Now Jericho, of course, going to make use or take advantage of Kevin Owens' ego. He challenges Owens to back up his words, step in the ring, and show him exactly why he deserves to be the number one contender. But Kevin Owens, of course, is not really one to accept people's challenges. He fights at his own pace, at his own time, and he turns to walk away from Chris Jericho's challenge. But Y2J is not going to let that go, drops the mic, leaves the ring, and goes after Kevin Owens. And you have these guys going at it along the walkway. The crowd is behind them, finally getting to see these guys trade blows right in front of them. They take their fight up the stage, going backstage, and it's not long before the general manager and security show up to break these guys up before any damage can be done to any property backstage. And the general manager, he makes the call. These guys, they want to go at it that badly. He's going to put them in a match. They will compete in the kickoff show of our next pay-per-view, Payback. Number one contendership will be on the line with some stipulations. If Jericho defeats Kevin Owens, he'll get to decide whether to be part of the title match at the next TakeOver special or to challenge John Morrison for the title on any one of the episodes after Payback leading up to NXT, the next TakeOver special. He gets to challenge Jericho on any one of those episodes, or to be in the title match, turning it into a triple threat match. But if Kevin Owens defeats Jericho, he keeps his number one contendership, and Jericho would have to move away from the title picture for now. And Kevin Owens has been assured that no one will step up and challenge him for his contendership until he gets his match against John Morrison at the next TakeOver special. So that's one match that has been established for the kickoff show. And an NXT fight, Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens. That number one contendership is on the line. And watching all of this happen in the distance, we have the champion, John Morrison, flanked by his two pals, the NXT Tag Team Champions, Tyler Breeze and the Brian Kendrick. And to the champion, he's not really bothered about who will end up as number one contender. He's confident enough. He believes in his abilities that he will defeat them regardless of whether it's Jericho or Kevin Owens. He's that confident in his abilities, and he's determined to take down whoever steps up to challenge him for that NXT championship. And this is where Tyler Breeze has to leave now, because he has to prepare for his match, which is coming up next. He's going one-on-one against one half of the former NXT Tag Team Champions. I'm talking about the Lone Wolf, Baron Corbin. Now, this match picks up from what we had last week. The Brian Kendrick was in action against the man beast Rhino. Rhino got the win over Brian Kendrick. So you can imagine the pressure is on Tyler Breeze this week to get a win at least for his team. But Baron Corbin, he's not going to let Tyler Breeze get that win easily. He's not going to let him walk over him. He's still sore about what went down at TakeOver Supremacy. As you may remember, Brian Kendrick would keep Rhino away from Tyler Breeze just as he was looking to hit the gore on Tyler Breeze. Brian Kendrick got a hold of Rhino's leg, keeping him from performing that finisher. Tyler Breeze, in turn, took care of Baron Corbin before setting his sights on Rhino and getting that big win for Tyler Breeze and the Brian Kendrick, becoming the new NXT Tag Team Champions. So Baron Corbin, he's coming into this match looking for a fight, looking to completely destroy Tyler Breeze, and this forces the champion to not just rely on agility and speed. He has to meet Baron Corbin halfway somehow, pound for pound, because if he cannot wear down Baron Corbin, the Wolf is just going to completely dominate over him. So you have Tyler Breeze trying to match Baron Corbin pound for pound, blow for blow, and somewhat he gets some advantage over Corbin, but Corbin, of course, is not going to let Breeze lead the match for too long. He's got the physical advantage over the tag team champion, and it reaches a point where he sends Tyler Breeze to the ropes, looking to end it in record time with that end of days. But Tyler Breeze, he knows what's coming. He's seen it before. He's prepared, and he dodges that attempt for the end of days, instead going to the other ropes and coming back to Corbin for the beauty shot, getting that massive hit on the former tag team champion, going for the quick pin and getting the victory over Corbin. Tyler Breeze gets a win for his team, but he doesn't spend too much time in the ring to celebrate, because out comes the man beast Rhino for his tag team partner who has just lost this match. Tyler Breeze dashing into the crowd before Rhino can get to him. So this is a victory for the tag team champions. The former tag team champions, they have a victory thanks to Rhino from last week. And as you may remember, they get to pick a stipulation for their rematch for the tag team titles, which will happen in that kickoff show for Payback. We'll find out what that stipulation will be in the final NXT episode, which will be in the following week. And backstage now, we've got the television champion. Devin Taylor has just caught up with him just to get his thoughts about that main event match. And as you know, The Miz, he's all confident, he's ready, he's focused, he's looking forward to defending the title against anyone from the NXT roster. And again, he feels that they should consider this a privilege, especially the NXT crowd, because they get to see the World Television title being defended on their show. This being a title that belongs on the main roster, but for them, he's defending it on NXT, so they shouldn't continue this chant that has been going on. You know, it's the one-time champion chant that started on the Raw after Extreme Rules. This chant began because people feel that The Miz will not become World Television Champion once again, and this has forced him now to step up as a champion, because not only does he want to become the longest reigning TV champion, but he doesn't have any plans of dropping this title to anyone. So now, against anyone from the NXT roster, he was ready to take them on. He's looking forward to that main event. He's confident, he's focused. Nothing less from the champion. Before he leaves, someone from the staff shows up to deliver another red envelope to the champion. As you may remember, he received a similar envelope during Raw, and now he's getting another one now on NXT. He doesn't know where these are coming from. Devin Taylor has no idea. He starts to believe that maybe it's from a fan who's a big fan of him. He's a big admirer, and he just takes the envelope, probably open it later and find out. But he's focused for that main event. And we move on to the next match. This is Matt Hardy taking on one third of New Day, Kofi Kingston. This is singles action, picking up from last week where we had Finn Balor going one-on-one against Xavier Woods. As you may know, the New Day are in this battle against the Hardy Boys, who introduced the third man to join their team against New Day at TakeOver Supremacy. That third man being Finn Balor. They took on the New Day in a 3 versus 3 match at Supremacy. New Day, however, would get the victory over them. And now we have the Hardy Boys and Finn Balor trying to rebuild some momentum against the New Day, get some wins over them, and maybe get another shot at a 3 versus 3 battle against them, settle things between them. But tonight we've got Matt Hardy taking on Kofi Kingston. Now Matt Hardy keeping this match well in his pace against Kofi Kingston's speed and agility. He wants to keep up with Kofi Kingston, but also he doesn't want to be caught up in Kofi Kingston's quick pace, because this is where Kofi Kingston gets comfortable and he gets the advantage over his opponents. He's quick, he's agile, he'll get the advantage of anyone if they cannot keep up with him or try to keep up with him and fail. But Matt Hardy keeping things paced, keeping things even, back and forth between them, and this forces Kofi Kingston to stop playing trying to play fair against Matt Hardy. This forces him to play dirty, and it reaches a point where Kofi Kingston now, he reaches one of the corners and he undoes the top turnbuckle. Of course, the ref is right there. He sees Kingston, and as he's going forth to fasten the turnbuckle again, Matt Hardy, he gets to Kofi Kingston, going for the twist of fate. Kofi Kingston counters that, pushing Matt Hardy forward. The ref sees Hardy coming, and out of reflex, he moves out of the way. That turnbuckle hasn't been fastened, and you've got the exposed steel on the corner there. Matt Hardy hits that exposed steel, unfortunately, and Kofi Kingston taking advantage of that to hit Matt Hardy with that trouble in paradise from out of nowhere and getting the quick pin over Matt Hardy. Kofi Kingston resorting to desperate measures against Matt Hardy. He gets a win for the New Day against the Hardys. And we wonder now what's going on. They've got wins now. Finn Balor got the win over Xavier Woods last week. This week, Kofi Kingston getting that win for the New Day. They've got the advantage. They've defeated the Hardy Boys at TakeOver Supremacy. They've got the win on their side, so they are leading. They're leading this feud, and they just need one more win to completely take out the Hardy Boys. We move on to the next match. This is the pre-main event. We've got the champion, John Morrison, taking on one of the 3 men who were part of that triple threat to crown the number 1 contender to the NXT championship. Talking about the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, taking on John Morrison next. Now this is a chance for the champion to finally back up what he said earlier during the Kevin Owens and Jericho fight backstage. He's got a challenge now against this big, angry man in the form of Mark Henry. Still sore about how things went down in that triple threat match, which featured Samoa Joe and the new number 1 contender now, Kevin Owens. Remember how that ended. Samoa Joe had the advantage over Mark Henry, having just taken him out with the Muscle Buster only for Kevin Owens to come in and hit Samoa Joe with the steel chair, bringing him down with Mark Henry's own move, the world's strongest slam to Samoa Joe onto that chair, and then going to pin Mark Henry, who was still down from that muscle buster. So you can imagine how Mark Henry feels at this point. He's got his chance to take his frustration out on the top guy in the NXT roster, the NXT champion, John Morrison. As you'd expect, Morrison being more agile, being quicker than Mark Henry. He's trying to quicken the pace of this match, trying to slow Mark Henry down. But that's what Mark Henry does to John Morrison. He stops the champion's momentum completely and he brings him down. He grounds the champion, slowing down the pace of this match, not giving him an inch to take an advantage over him. And Mark Henry, you'd say he's starting to dominate in this match. And just as his momentum is building, leading up to that big finish, out comes the other half of the NXT Tag Team Champions, the Brian Kendrick, looking to save his partner John Morrison. But Mark Henry, he's not having any of that. He takes out the Brian Kendrick, without any effort whatsoever. Brian Kendrick, he's out of the equation just as he's coming in, and this is where Morrison, looking to take advantage thanks to Kendrick's appearance, hoping that Mark Henry was distracted enough for him to take an advantage over him. But Mark Henry saw it coming, took care of Kendrick, ready to anticipate Morrison's attack. Morrison was looking for that super kick, but instead Henry counters that, going for the belly to belly before hitting the ropes, coming down on the champion with the world's strongest splash and going for that pin right away. Morrison unable to respond to the ref's count, and Mark Henry gets a massive upset win over the champion. He's just put Morrison on notice now, getting this win over him. What happens going forward? You've got the number one contender, Kevin Owens, but Mark Henry now has just gotten a win over the champion. He's got that over his shoulder. What happens going forward? We'll have to find out as the weeks go by, because right now it's time for our main event. This is for the World Television Championship. The champion, The Miz, making his presence known. The red carpet along the walkway, the limo showing up, and with his fans ready to accept autographs and selfies with him, welcoming him to NXT. Of course, the NXT crowd, they're not having any of that, showering him with boos and the one-time champion chants, but he's not bothered. He's focused on this main event match, looking to make someone from the NXT roster a 15-minute star, because the World Television Championship is on the line right now. The Miz in action. Who will accept the challenge for this new title? Let's find out right now. We haven't seen this man since TakeOver Supremacy. He's making his return to TV tonight, accepting the challenge. Who else but the man that gravity forgot, the new sensation, as he's used to be called, Neville, accepts the challenge. He is taking on Miz for the World Television Championship. We haven't seen him since Supremacy. He was teaming up with Sami Zayn against G2 as the mystery team that was taking them on. Was a good match until G2 flipped the switch, turning on Sami Zayn, turning on Neville, turning on the fans that had been supporting them. And we haven't seen Neville since then. But here he is tonight, fresh, ready, focused to go one-on-one against The Miz with the World Television title on the line. As you'd expect, Miz not really fast-paced or agile or acrobatic like Neville. And this forces him to try and keep up with Neville, because this is what Neville has brought into this match: that agility, quick pace, that acrobatic talent, forcing the Miz out of his usual comfort zone, forcing him again to adapt to Neville's style, and forcing him to be more aggressive to Neville, because as you've seen with The Miz, when he's backed into a corner now, realizing that he can't get his way with his opponent, he can't get that quick advantage and lead the pace of the match, he becomes more aggressive. He tries to gain control of the match by force, but Neville is not going to back down. He accepts Miz's challenge. He fights him back, blow for blow, back and forth, able to keep up with The Miz. It's a fast match. They slow the pace down, but Neville again increasing the pace when he has control of The Miz and the match. Miz, of course, he finds an opening during the match, looking to hit that skull-crashing finale, but Neville counters that, getting the swift kick to the back or the side of the head of the champion. He climbs to the top turnbuckle, looking to hit that red arrow and seal the deal over The Miz. He hits the move, but The Miz, quick to raise his knees to catch Neville as he's coming down. Neville lands on The Miz's knees. The Miz taking advantage, getting his challenger up to finally hit that skull-crushing finale before Neville can recover from having his move countered just now, and The Miz quickly going for that pin on the challenger and retaining the championship. The Miz defeats the man that gravity forgot to retain the World Television Championship. But the action doesn't end there. Just as The Miz is celebrating, outcome G2. They're not looking for The Miz, they're looking for Neville, and they assault the former NXT champion as The Miz prepares to leave the ring. He makes his way out of the ring. As he's leaving, out comes Sami Zayn, looking to help his partner out. He doesn't get to the ring, unfortunately, because The Miz meets him halfway with a vicious title shot to the head, bringing down Sami Zayn. G2, surprised to see what has just gone down. The Miz seemingly has done them a favor by taking out Sami Zayn, keeping him from rescuing his partner Neville, and this allows G2 to continue their post-match assault on Neville. You have Corey Graves bringing down Neville, setting him up for the 450 splash from Justin Gabriel, and they've made it known that they've welcomed Neville back to TV, having just come out of an impressive match for the World Television title against The Miz. The Miz is not bothered about what's going on with G2. Sami Zayn was in the way. Miz took care of it. He's not doing a favor for G2 as far as he's concerned. He just did what he felt like doing. But there you have it, The Miz surviving his second title defense as World Television Champion, who will step up for his final challenge before defending the title at Payback. He'll be defending the title next on SmackDown in Week 6, and he'll be defending the title, if he's still champion, at Payback. So you look forward to that. But this marks the end of the audio universe part of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed NXT. Looking forward to the next episode, which will be SmackDown, episode 17, the finale of this week. This is week 5. And now we can touch on what went down on Monday Night Raw. And I would call it one of the sleepiest episodes I've seen in a while. Really, the crowd was not really there. Despite Sting opening Monday Night Raw, despite Sting being in the final segment of Raw, they were alive when the Dudley Boys were in action against the New Day. They were alive somewhat when John Cena popped up in the final segment, when Seth Rollins was cutting his final promo calling out Sting. But for the majority of the episode, considering what was going on backstage, the soap opera situation with Lana, Summer Rae, and Dolph Ziggler, and shower, unfortunately, the crowd was not there. And I think that affected the mood of this episode because there were some pretty impressive matches with a beat the clock challenge for the Divas. I think it was the very first ever beat the clock featuring Divas. And this was to crown number one contendership for the Divas title. The challenge would be won eventually by Charlotte, as if we didn't really expect that to happen because we got Charlotte being pushed more than Paige, more than Becky Lynch, more than Sasha Banks when this whole revolution started. So I think nobody was really surprised when it turned out that Charlotte would be the first one to get a shot at the Divas title. And I guess it's a step forward now because we were getting tired of the same matches week after week, variety of teams taking on each other. But now we've got focus on the Divas title. Charlotte will be facing Nikki Bella for that championship at Night of Champions. All the titles will be on the line. Becky Lynch started the challenge. She took on Alicia Fox and she set the time at about 3 minutes. Then Charlotte would set the time at about 1 minute. She defeated Brie Bella in quick fashion. Then the third match featured Paige versus Sasha Banks, the most over female wrestler on the main roster right now, for good reason. If you watched NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, you know why Sasha Banks at this point should be ranked number one among the main roster divas. Hell of a match against Bayley, and she's the latest diva right now to get a win over the champion Nikki Bella. She made her submit. Was it last week? No, it wasn't last week. I think it was the Raw before that big weekend of SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver. Yeah, she made Nikki Bella tap out the bank statement. So she should be number one contender, but instead she was the one facing Paige in the final Beat the Clock match. And I was talking to Murph's YT13. You can follow his channel on YouTube. You can follow him on Twitter. That's Murph's YT13, MURFSYT13. We're talking about Raw, his review, and in his review, he suggested that they shouldn't have put Sasha Banks against Paige in that match. They should have had Tamina compete against Paige because considering the momentum that Sasha Banks has had since that match in Brooklyn against Bayley, and then you have her in this Beat the Clock challenge, which was basically a race for time because I think there was a minute, the record that Charlotte had set, and then Paige rushing to get that pin fall over Sasha Banks, only to end with time running out because Team Bad, they would drag Sasha Banks out of the ring, keeping Paige from pinning her. But although she would get Sasha back into the ring, by that time it was too late. Tamina could have been in that spot instead of Sasha Banks. They should have done more to protect Sasha Banks. She doesn't need to take a loss like that coming off of her big weekend. And I agree with Murph's YT13 because really you'd think that Sasha Banks should be positioned to be a challenge to the new number one contender now, Charlotte. So maybe we will have Sasha Banks pleading her case during these. I think there are 2 Raws left before Night of Champions. Night of Champions is on the 20th of September. I should think so. So 2 Raws left. Yeah. So I'm hoping that maybe they'll have Sasha Banks step up and remind folks that I made the champion tap out. I have a victory over the champion, so I should be the number one contender. And then you can have Charlotte uh, coming in saying, no, but I won the Beat the Clock challenge. I'm the number one contender. Then you have these women fight for contendership now. The contendership is on the line, Charlotte having to defend it. That way, at least you can have Sasha Banks, if she's going to lose, of course, to Charlotte, then at least have her try to defeat Charlotte, be a challenge to Charlotte's claim for contendership. Then you can have Charlotte defeat Sasha Banks, and you move on from there. That's fine. Rather than trying to make fans just endorse Charlotte becoming contender and forget about Sasha Banks, because you should know what happened in Brooklyn. The crowd, they wanted Sasha Banks, and they took that out on Team Bella and Team PCB when they had their awkward promo exchange on the Raw following SummerSlam and the match that they had. The crowd was not having any of that. But with the Tampa crowd, I guess they really didn't care. Sasha Banks was there, and regardless of what she was involved in, they couldn't care less. And even when Charlotte won the Beat the Clock challenge, it didn't feel like a big moment like it should have. She's number one contender for the Divas title, but because she was competing against her teammates, she couldn't really celebrate as much as anyone else would have. So it was an awkward case of, yeah, she's happy, but at the same time, she has to feel for Becky Lynch and for Paige, especially, who had time run out on her. So yeah, Charlotte, number one contender, but was it a surprise to anyone? I don't think so. We all saw it from a million miles away, but it just goes to show you WWE's priorities now. The crowd, they're in favor of Sasha Banks, but here you have WWE backstage guys pushing for Charlotte for obvious reasons. We don't really need to get into that because it's right there. But anyway, now that Charlotte is the number one contender, question is, will she defeat Nikki Bella now? That's the question, because you wouldn't want it to be a case where you've got Charlotte, you've prevented the diva that the crowd wants to be in the forefront to challenge the Divas champion, and you've got Charlotte now, number one contender, and then she goes on to lose to Nikki Bella. What happens from there? So I think Charlotte will defeat Nikki Bella. Maybe they'll have a rematch at Hell in a Cell or wherever, and perhaps with Charlotte being the Divas champion, we can move on from the Diva era into the female wrestler era, or as Paige put it, the era of the female athlete. That really smelled like WWE probably came up with that. They don't want to. They want to move away from the pro wrestler image and embrace or try to force the sports entertainment brand. So I guess female athlete just sounds like WWE. But anyway, move away from the Divas era and we move to the female wrestler era with Charlotte being the champion. I hope that's the case, and maybe we'll have a situation where Charlotte will defend the title at WrestleMania, maybe against Sasha Banks, and we have Sasha Banks defeating Charlotte at WrestleMania. I think that's a big match there. The crowd would be into it, but you give Sasha Banks the title at WrestleMania. Of course, Charlotte, she wants to headline WrestleMania, but, well, we all know how that's going to go down. Its main roster, the people who are going to main event WrestleMania, is the guy who won the Royal Rumble probably, and the WWE champion at the time. Or unless they come up with a better main event, but That's the usual case with WWE. That's what they'll usually do. So that's the way I see it. That's my little rant on the Divas Revolution. As far as I'm concerned, the Beat the Clock challenge sounded like a good idea on paper, but with how it was executed, it just felt a little lackluster, you know. So that was that. The match that really stood out on Raw was the Intercontinental Championship, Big Show versus Ryback. This was the match that should have happened at Battleground if Ryback hadn't been. Wait. Battleground. Yeah, at Battleground. Yeah, this is the match that should have happened if Ryback. Oh, and let me say, this is the match that should have happened at Money in the Bank, right? Because it was what happened in that match. The Miz got involved, yes, and then the match ended just like that. Then Ryback got injured. The triple threat match happened at SummerSlam. Okay, yeah, this was a great match. This is a match that should have happened in the past, but well, we got it tonight. I would say it was the best match for me. It was the best match on that episode. Second would be Kevin Owens versus Cesaro, because you know these guys can deliver. They get in the ring, they put on a show, and you're always left satisfied. But with Big Show versus Ryback with The Miz at commentary, it was a physical contest, as you'd expect between Ryback and the Big Show. It didn't feel like, not Miz, but Ryback playing to Big Show playing to Ryback. Both of them got the chance to shine, and we got to see what they can put into a match like this, the title on the line. The Miz, of course, costing the Big Show the match, though I wouldn't say it was intentionally for Ryback's sake. He just did it because he's not in favor of the Big Show. So the Big Show, of course, lost the match thanks to the Miz. Ryback retains the Intercontinental Championship. My guess will be maybe at Night of Champions we'll have the Miz facing Ryback for the title. I would have the Miz versus Big Show in the kickoff show, right? You have the Miz. He finds a way to defeat the Big Show by count out or some other way, but he gets the win over the Big Show, and then he moves on to fight Ryback in the pay-per-view for the Intercontinental Championship. At least let's just have that match out of the way. He gets his match against Ryback without any worry about the Big Show being involved. We get that out of the way, and then Ryback can finally move on to anticipate his next challenger. That's the way I'd book this ongoing feud. And maybe who can step up to fight Ryback next? Looking at right now, perhaps Kevin Owens can step up, because it looks like his program with Cesaro may have ended now. He's got another win over Cesaro, although in this case it was because of the table spot. Cesaro landing on the announce table with his ribs, and that cost him that match against Kevin Owens. Great match, but I'd hoped Cesaro would at least get a win over Kevin Owens to keep this feud going. But because of the table spot, of course, Kevin Owens, he got the win over Cesaro, and I'm guessing he'll move on from Cesaro now. Will they have another match? It's possible, but if there really isn't anything to motivate this match, I don't really think they should fight each other again. I mean, it's like the Sheamus versus Randy Orton situation. I would have them fight one more time if the briefcase is on the line. And this is something I suggested, that have Sheamus versus Randy Orton at Night of Champions. The briefcase is on the line. Sheamus retains it, and then you have him cash in during the main event between Sting and Seth Rollins. You have Sheamus cash in. I would say Sting defeats Seth Rollins, right? He's the new WWE champion. Then you have Sheamus come in, he cashes in, but Sting, he defeats Sheamus. Now, this at least we get Sheamus no longer as Mr. Money in the Bank, because I think the general worry is, Sheamus cashing in and becoming champion once again. A lot of people are against that. They don't want to see Sheamus becoming champion again. So I suggested, okay, have him cash in. I think this is one way you can have him cash in. I don't know if you'd want to have him because he's a heel, and then he's cashing in on Seth Rollins, who's another heel. Would that work? It could, but I think the ideal situation would be for heel Sheamus to cash in on a babyface champion. This is why I think Sting should defeat Seth Rollins, becoming babyface champion. Then you have Sheamus cash in, Sting defeats Sheamus. But I guess most people are a little reluctant about seeing Sting defeat Seth Rollins. But okay, if Seth Rollins defeats Sting, that's another loss for Sting. His second match in the WWE, and he's taking another loss. And what happens? Does he disappear again? And when he returns, what will he be doing? Because he's returned now and he's going for the champion. If he disappears, Seth Rollins defeats him and Sting disappears and he comes back. What is in store for Sting? Well, there is the Sting versus Undertaker, but I think at this point, let's just move on, because would it work now? I don't think so, because I've touched on this in the previous episode that you have these guys fighting in WrestleMania. Who should get the win there? Sting needs the win because you don't want him to lose again at another WrestleMania. Do you want Taker losing in his home state in a match which could be his retirement match? No, you don't. So I don't think that match can work now. So I guess that's why I'm for Sting defeating Seth Rollins. I am also for Seth Rollins retaining the US title. Yeah, that's my take. Seth Rollins, he loses the WWE title to continue building tension between him and the Authority, but you let him keep the United States Championship, right? At least he has something to brag about. He defeated John Cena. He's still US champion, but he's got tension continuing to build between him and the Authority because he's lost the WWE Championship. The one thing that linked him to the Authority, the reason why the Authority still have him around, because he's the face of the company. He's the WWE champion, but he's lost the title to Sting. And this is where you can bring in Triple H. You can get angry at Seth Rollins, the whole legacy issue. And then I can bring back Sting's opening promo endorsing Triple H despite how things went down at WrestleMania in their match. I found that awkward. Why is he putting Triple H over when he lost to Triple H with the interference and the use of the sledgehammer? I don't get that. What was that all about? Felt definitely like WWE just put that in just so you can have this WCW legend make WWE good, odd promo. But anyway, that's my idea. Sting defeats Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship. That's my idea. And I think have him keep the championship until the Royal Rumble. Yeah. Um, Turn John Cena babyface, not babyface, turn him heel, right? Because I think obviously he's going to become 16-time champion again sooner or later. But I'd prefer sooner have him defeat Sting. I did touch on this in the previous episode, right? I think so. I should check the previous episode. But yeah, have him defeat Sting. He goes on to main event WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan, if he's healthy, gets in the Rumble, wins the Rumble. He defeats John Cena for the title at WrestleMania. That was how I would book Sting going forward as the champion, and then at least you have him drop the title at a big pay-per-view like the Royal Rumble. Because if he doesn't defeat Seth Rollins to become WWE champion, perhaps he'll defeat Seth Rollins by DQ. And my suggestion is maybe we'll have Kane make his return at Night of Champions and he costs Sting the title. At least if they are planning to have Sting become champion on a big stage like maybe Survivor Series, they can save that rematch for Survivor Series, but you at least give Sting a victory. Have him get a win in WWE, because another loss, and then he goes away, and then he comes back. What's next for him? Right. Also, we had Dean Ambrose versus this mountain of a man, Braun Strowman. Interesting guy. He gives off the aura of an unstoppable force, and I wonder how long his undefeated streak will go. How long will he continue before he's defeated clean? It will probably be Roman Reigns who will get the win over him, but we'll find. I think it's a chance for us to see how invested are they in this Braun Strowman guy. Will he get the Rusev treatment, like going a full year and a couple of months undefeated? Is that how much of a force Braun Strowman will be? Probably not. Probably maybe some months from now, yeah, he'll be defeated. Maybe at WrestleMania, who knows? But I'm interested to see how far they'll go with this guy. He got the win by DQ when he provoked Roman Reigns, and of course Roman Reigns took the bait and he attacked Braun Strowman, and then there was a DQ in favor of Braun Strowman. We also had the Dudley Boys taking on the New Day, their first match on Raw in over a decade, as they said. Dudley Boys, they got the win over the New Day. The idea, of course, being that they'll become tag team champions somewhere down the road. I think maybe leading up to Night of Champions, they'll at least face the primetime players. Maybe for the contendership is on the line, the primetime players, they weren't really clear about when they'll have the rematch, because they did acknowledge they've got the rematch, but they wouldn't reveal when they will cash in the rematch and have the match against the New Day. But I think if you're going to have the Dudley Boys become champions, at least have them lead the tag division until hopefully the next big team from NXT has been called up to the main roster and they can take the tag titles from the Dudley Boys. Hopefully by then the tag division will be in a better place than it is right now, because honestly, when I think of the tag division on the main roster right now, the teams I'm thinking of are the 4 teams who competed in that 4-way at SummerSlam. Can we count Luke Harper and, well, the Wyatt family is busy. Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, they're busy. So now, I think that's your tag division, those 4 teams. The Ascension, as I talked about in the previous episode, at this point, I don't really know about the Ascension. I watched NXT. I'll cover a full review, but the reception the Ascension got on NXT, I mean, very different from the reception they get on the main roster. They were welcomed like heroes, and it was surprising that wow, the Ascension getting this reception on NXT, but on the main roster they're treated like just that team to throw at other teams that are being built up, and it's a shame because the Ascension, I think they could be big heels if they were built to be big heels. Perhaps they'll challenge the Dudley Boys for the titles at some point, hopefully. But man, the tag division really needs some help right now. It really does. But yeah, I have faith in the Dudley Boys. They'll wake up the tag division and hopefully they can lead it to a better place. So I'm looking forward to seeing how and when they'll become tag team champions. Then we had the final segment. This was where Seth Rollins calling out Sting, looking for that statue, of course. Again, trying to place himself above Triple H, but Stephanie McMahon would pop up and bring him down to remind him that, that he cannot talk ill about Triple H. He can be the man and everything, but he cannot talk ill about Triple H. And already you have that tension between Rollins and the Authority being set up. And the question now is, when will Triple H and Seth Rollins have their big match? I wonder. John Cena would pop up, and this is where he puts down his rematch, and this sets up Rollins to defend both the US and the WWE title on the same night, Night of Champions. John Cena will be facing Rollins for the title. Then, of course, the main event, Sting versus Seth Rollins. Then we had the epic shot of Sting and John Cena on the stage together. I mean, yeah, that is a money shot right there. Who would have thought you'd live to see the day where Sting and John Cena on Monday Night Raw together on the stage as the show is closing off? Who would have thought? But we got that on Monday. And again, if it wasn't for the crowd, I think it would have been a great show, minus the drama between Lana, Summer Rae, and Ziggler, the whole shower incident backstage. Absolutely ridiculous for those guys. I feel sorry for them that they have to do this angle, really. There was a rematch between Ziggler and Rusev during Raw. That was a great match, which ended in DQ thanks to Summer Rae getting involved. But again, we're just building up towards that mixed tag team match, and we can only just wonder when that match will happen. Will we be looking forward to it? Not really. With the way that they are booking these guys with the backstage antics and everything, I don't think anyone is really looking forward to that mixed tag team match, and the only hope is it will at least be a decent match. With everything that we're getting building up to it, really, it should be at least decent. So that was my take on Raw. Sleepy Raw. I haven't watched SmackDown yet, but I will put a review. I'll give a review for NXT and TNA in the next episode, which will be SmackDown for Audio Universe, the week finale for week 5. Big match, as you guys may remember. Street fight for the Intercontinental Championship. Randy Orton, the champion, versus Cody Rhodes. So you look forward to SmackDown. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. We'll catch you on SmackDown. Thank you guys.